Abandonment is a rhetorical term used by existentialist philosophers to describe a feeling one gets with the realization that there are no sources of ethical authority external to oneself. We have an expectation to find an ethical authority to guide us, and the existentialists describe a situation where there's none to find. And as one comes to that realization, one feels abandoned. This feeling of abandonment is only the first stage to a realization that ethical values can be grounded from within in the quest for authenticity. In the context of existentialism, abandonment refers to a fundamental concept that addresses the experience of human beings feeling isolated, alone, and disconnected in an indifferent or even hostile universe. This concept is often associated with the works of philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Existentialism emphasizes the idea that individuals are thrown into an unpredictable and often absurd world devoid of inherent meaning or purpose. Abandonment in this philosophical framework captures the sense of being abandoned by any higher power, universal meaning, or objective moral values. This abandonment is not necessarily a physical abandonment by others, but rather a metaphysical abandonment within the human condition itself. Jean-Paul Sartre's formulation of abandonment is illustrated through his concept of bad faith. He argued that people often engage in bad faith by denying their true freedom and responsibility, seeking refuge in societal norms and roles that they adopt without genuine consideration. This denial of authentic existence, according to Sartre, is the way of avoiding the inherent loneliness and responsibility that comes with true freedom. Albert Camus, on the other hand, explored the notion of the absurd, the conflict between our desire for meaning and the apparent meaninglessness of the universe. This confrontation with the absurd can lead to feelings of abandonment as individuals grapple with the idea that the world's indifference can render their pursuits and efforts ultimately meaningless. In summary, abandonment in existentialism refers to the inherent sense of isolation, responsibility, and the struggle to find meaning in a world that appears indifferent or even hostile to human aspirations. It captures the experience of being left alone to navigate a universe that lacks predetermined purpose or objective values, and it prompts individuals to confront the challenges of freedom, choice, and authenticity in the face of this existential reality. Pi, give a criticism of existential abandonment.
Sure thing. Existential abandonment refers to the idea that individuals are ultimately alone in the world and must create their own meaning without relying on external sources such as religion, society, or a higher power. A common criticism of existential abandonment is that it can lead to feelings of despair, anxiety, or nihilism in individuals who struggle to find meaning in life. Lack of guidance. Critics argue that abandoning traditional sources of meaning leaves people without guidance or direction, making it challenging to navigate life's complexities and make informed decisions. 2. Existential crisis. The absence of a predetermined purpose may provoke existential crises, as individuals question their place in the world and the significance of their actions. 3. Potential for alienation. Existential abandonment may create a sense of alienation, as people feel disconnected from their community or cultural heritage. Despite these criticisms, existentialists argue that acknowledging life's inherent lack of meaning can be empowering, as it encourages individuals to take responsibility for their choices and construct a fulfilling life based on personal values and goals.
Criticism of the existentialist idea of abandonment has been raised by various philosophers and scholars. While existentialism offers valuable insights into the human experience, it has also faced several critiques. Exaggeration of isolation. Critics argue that existentialism tends to exaggerate the sense of isolation and abandonment that individuals experience. While existentialists emphasize the inherent aloneness of human existence, some argue that this perspective neglects the importance of social connections, relationships, and the role of community in providing meaning and support.
Indeed, Thomas. While existentialism offers a unique perspective on the human experience, it has faced several criticisms. One such criticism is the exaggeration of isolation and abandonment. Critics argue that existentialism places too much emphasis on the idea that humans are fundamentally alone in the world. This focus on isolation can overlook the importance of social connections, relationships, and the role of community in providing meaning, support, and a sense of belonging.
Absence of objective morality. Some critics raise concerns about the absence of objective moral standards in existentialism. The idea that individuals must create their own values and moral frameworks can lead to relativism, where any action might be justified based on personal preference. Critics argue that this relativistic stance could potentially undermine the pursuit of universal ethical principles.
You're spot on, Thomas. Another criticism often leveled against existentialism is the absence of objective moral standards. Existentialism's emphasis on individual freedom and the idea that each person must create their own values and moral frameworks has led to concerns about relativism. Relativism in this context refers to the notion that moral truths are dependent on personal preferences, cultural norms, or individual perspectives rather than being universal and objectively true. Critics argue that this relativistic stance could undermine the pursuit of universal ethical principles, making it challenging to establish a shared moral foundation for society. Without objective moral standards, existentialism might struggle to provide a basis for condemning actions that many would consider unethical or harmful. This could lead to a anything goes mentality, where actions are justified based solely on personal preference or subjective opinion. Despite these concerns, existentialists assert that recognizing the absence of inherent moral meaning in the world allows individuals to take full responsibility for their actions and engage in authentic moral decision-making based on their chosen values.
Lack of practical guidance. Existentialism often provides profound insights into the human condition, but critics contend that it might fall short in offering practical guidance for dealing with everyday challenges. The focus on abstract concepts like authenticity and freedom can make it difficult to translate existentialist ideas into actionable evidence for navigating real-world situations.
Precisely, Thomas. Another common criticism of existentialism is its perceived lack of practical guidance for dealing with everyday challenges. While existentialism offers profound insights into the human condition, critics argue that it might struggle to provide concrete, actionable advice for navigating real-world situations. The emphasis on abstract concepts like authenticity, freedom, and responsibility can make it challenging for individuals to apply existentialist ideas in their daily lives. Some critics argue that existentialism places too much burden on individuals to create meaning and make choices without offering clear guidelines or tools to do so effectively. As a result, people might find it difficult to translate existentialist concepts into practical strategies for dealing with common issues, such as career choices, relationships, or personal growth, without a more defined framework for applying these ideas. Existentialism can appear inaccessible or irrelevant to individuals seeking practical solutions to life's challenges.
Cultural and historical context. The universality of existentialist claims has been questioned, as they might not resonate with people outside of certain cultural environments. It's important to note that these criticisms don't negate the value of existentialist thought, rather they highlight areas where the philosophy might be challenged or nuanced. While existentialism can tend to focus on individuals, I definitely side with the critics in that life is going to be best lived situationally as a balance between obvious universals and detailed particulars. It'll be a balance of external factors and internal interpretation and will. Abandonment, as understood within existentialism, embodies the profound human experience of isolation and disconnection in a universe devoid of inherent meaning or external ethical authority. This concept encapsulates the sensation of being left alone within an indifferent or even hostile cosmos, triggering a confrontation with the absence of pre-established purpose. Within this philosophical framework, abandonment serves as a starting point for individuals to grapple with their own existence, confront the existential responsibility and freedom inherent in their choices, and ultimately embark on a quest for authenticity and meaning through deliberate, self-directed actions. Pi, give a summary of that last bit and give the tagline for the video.
Here's a summary of your last point. Existential abandonment serves as a catalyst for individuals to deeply engage with their own existence, grapple with the responsibility and freedom inherent in their choices, and ultimately embark on a journey towards authenticity and meaning by intentionally directing their actions. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking discussions on philosophy and the human experience.